Thaddeus Blackwood stands at his resort suite window, iPhone pressed to his ear, watching waves crash against pristine white sand. His crisp linen shirt and tailored shorts speak of casual luxury. Look, the Singapore deal needs to close today. I don't care if you have to wake up their entire board of directors. Yes, I know what time it is there. He pinches the bridge of his nose, fighting off a migraine. A gentle breeze carries the sound of laughter from the beach below. Something about it catches his attention. Familiar. Too familiar. Thad walks onto his private balcony, still arguing into his phone. Just make it happen. I'm not losing this deal because of... He freezes. The phone slips from his hand, clattering against the railing. Down on the beach, a woman in a flowing sundress is helping two young boys build an elaborate sandcastle. Her dark hair lifts in the breeze as she laughs at something one of the twins says. Aurora. Is Aurora. The boys Phoenix and River have grown so much. Phoenix meticulously measures the castle walls with a small ruler while River decorates the towers with shells and seaweed, adding artistic flourishes. Just like their parents. Thad grips the railing until his knuckles turn white. 3 years. It's been 3 years since the divorce, since Aurora took the boys and moved across the country. Since he chose his empire over his family. His assistant's voice chirps faintly from the fallen phone. Mr. Blackwood? Are you still there? Mr. Blackwood. But Thad can't look away from the scene below. River spots a unique shell and runs to show his mother, his unbridled enthusiasm so like Aurora's. Phoenix stays focused on his construction, his careful attention to detail mirroring Thad's own perfectionism. They look happy. Complete. Without him. A wave crashes particularly hard against the shore, sending spray into the air. The twins squeal with delight as the mist rains down on them. Aurora pulls them close, shielding them with her sundress, and for a moment, they're a perfect tableau of the family he lost. Thad finally retrieves his phone. Cancel my meetings for the day. All of them. His voice is steady but tight with emotion. Something's come up. He ends the call and stares at his reflection in the sliding glass door. The man who has everything, who gave up everything. Taking a deep breath, he straightens his collar and heads for the elevator. It's time to face the past he's been running from. The private elevator glides smoothly downward as Thad repeatedly taps his thumb against his leg. Each floor brings him closer to a confrontation he never planned for. His mind drifts to the last time he saw them, that rainy morning when Aurora packed the final box into her car. The elevator doors open to the exclusive beach section. Thad steps out onto warm marble floors, nodding mechanically at the staff who greet him. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows he can still see his family on the beach. His steps falter. Phoenix has moved on to drawing precise blueprints in the sand for what appears to be a moat system, while River dances around the castle, playing pretend with a piece of driftwood as a magic wand. Aurora watches them with that same gentle smile she used to give Thad when he'd get too serious about something trivial. Thad pushes through the French doors onto the beach. The sound of waves grows louder, matching his heartbeat. He approaches slowly, remembering how Phoenix used to crawl into his home office late at night, just to watch him work in silence. How River would beg him to help paint their bedroom walls with underwater scenes. 20 feet away now. 15. 10. River spots him first. The driftwood wand drops from his hand. Dad. Aurora's head snaps up, her smile vanishing. She stands quickly, instinctively moving closer to the boys. Phoenix looks up from his drawings, his face unreadable. Hello, Aurora. Thad's voice sounds foreign to his own ears. Professional. Distant. Like he's starting another business meeting. Thaddeus. Aurora's tone is equally careful. She brushes sand from her sundress, buying time to compose herself. I didn't know you'd be here. It's my resort. The words come out harsher than intended. He softens his voice. One of them anyway. River bounces on his toes, bursting with energy. Dad. Look at our castle. I did the decorations and Phoenix made the walls super strong and Mom helped with the towers and... River. Aurora's gentle warning stops the flood of words. Phoenix hasn't moved, his hand still gripping his ruler. His eyes dart between his parents like he's calculating odds. It's quite impressive, Thad manages, gesturing to the castle. Very architectural. I used the golden ratio, Phoenix says quietly. We learned about it in advanced math. Advanced math. At 9 years old. When did that happen? What else has he missed? Of course you did. Thad tries to smile. That's excellent, Phoenix. A wave crashes nearby, sending seawater curling around their feet. Aurora steps back, pulling the boys with her. Her protective instinct feels like an accusation. We should probably go, she says. The tide's coming in. No. River protests. We just started. And Dad's here now. He can help us build the second castle. I was gonna make it a wizard tower and Phoenix said. River. This time Aurora's tone leaves no room for argument. We need to get ready for dinner anyway. Thad watches his son's face fall, sees the familiar disappointment settle in. How many times had he caused that same look by canceling plans, missing events, choosing work? You're staying at the resort? He asks Aurora. Just for the weekend. A little celebration for the boys' art show. Art show. Phoenix looks down at his blueprint. River scuffs his foot in the sand. They both had pieces selected for the Young Artists Showcase in Portland, Aurora explains. Phoenix's geometric designs and River's ocean paintings. Another milestone he knew nothing about. Thad's chest tightens. Congratulations, he says to the boys, but the word feels inadequate. Everything feels inadequate. A heavy silence falls, broken only by the rhythmic sound of waves. The perfect family scene from his balcony has shattered, leaving only awkward fragments. Well, Aurora says finally. It was unexpected seeing you, Thaddeus. She begins gathering their beach toys. The boys help automatically, a well-practiced routine that doesn't include him. Aurora, wait. Thad steps forward. Maybe we could. Not now. Her voice is firm but not unkind. Not here. River runs to hug him impulsively. Thad's arms close around his son, breathing in the scent of sunscreen and salt water. Phoenix hangs back, offering only a small wave. Thad watches them walk away, their footprints in the wet sand already being erased by the incoming tide. The elaborate sandcastle stands abandoned, waves creeping closer to its walls. His phone buzzes. The Singapore deal. He lets it ring. The resort's beachfront restaurant bustles with evening activity. Thad sits alone at the bar, an untouched glass of bourbon in front of him. He's changed into an expensive charcoal suit, his usual armor, but it feels suffocating in the warm coastal air. Through the windows, he watches the sun begin its descent, painting the ocean in shades of orange and pink. His mind wanders to weekend mornings when River would wake everyone up at dawn, insisting they watch the sunrise as a family. The sky is painting, he'd say, already reaching for his crayons. The hostess leads a group to their table. Thad's hand tightens around his glass as he recognizes Aurora and the twins, now dressed for dinner. Aurora wears a simple blue dress that catches the fading sunlight. The boys are in matching polo shirts, Phoenix is tucked in neatly, River's already coming untucked. A young waiter approaches their table, and River immediately launches into an animated conversation. Even from a distance, Thad can see his son's hands moving expressively as he talks. Aurora smiles, but her eyes keep drifting to the bar. She knows he's there. Phoenix pulls out a small notebook, presumably to document the menu options or calculate the bill, always analyzing just like his father. The sight makes Thad's chest ache. He pulls out his phone, opens his banking app. A few taps and it's done. The waiter returns to their table looking slightly confused. Ma'am, I've been informed that your dinner has been taken care of. Compliments of. No. Aurora's voice carries clearly through the restaurant. Please tell Mr. Blackwood we don't need his charity. Several heads turn. Thad stands straightening his jacket. He crosses the restaurant, aware of every eye on him. It's not charity, Aurora. It's dinner for my family. We stopped being your family when you missed the boy's 7th birthday to close a deal in Dubai. Aurora's words are quiet but sharp. That deal funded their trust funds. They didn't need trust funds. They needed their father. River looks between his parents, his usual energy dampened. Mom, can Dad eat with us? Please? Phoenix made a list of questions about computers and business and stuff, didn't you, Phoenix? Phoenix slowly pulls out a folded paper from his pocket. Thad catches a glimpse of carefully written questions, numbered and categorized. You kept a list? Thad's voice softens. Whenever I thought of something I wanted to ask you, Phoenix mumbles. River helped with some. Aurora's expression cracks slightly. She looks at her son's, River's hopeful face, Phoenix's careful neutrality, and sighs. One dinner, she says finally. But this doesn't change anything, Thaddeus. Thad signals for a chair. As he sits, River immediately launches into a story about his latest art project, while Phoenix methodically unfolds his list of questions. Aurora watches them, her fingers tracing the stem of her water glass. First question, Phoenix announces, his voice serious. Why did you program your first robot when you were 12? Thad blinks. How did you know about that? I googled you. There are 8,412 articles about you online. I read most of them. Most of them? The ones in English. I'm still learning Mandarin. River bounces in his seat. Tell him about your coding class, Phoenix. He's learning to make games and he made one about a penguin that does karate and… River, Phoenix protests. That's question 14 on my list. We have to go in order. Thad looks at his sons, one methodically working through his list, the other practically vibrating with excitement, and feels the walls he's built around his heart begin to crack. Aurora catches his eye across the table. For a moment, her guard drops and he sees the same wonder there. Look what we made, her expression seems to say. Look what you've been missing. The waiter approaches with menus, but Thad barely notices. He's too busy watching Phoenix tick off the first question with a miniature pen, while River adds sound effects to his brother's penguin game story. His phone buzzes in his pocket. He reaches for it automatically, then stops. For the first time in 3 years, the notifications can wait. The dinner plates have been cleared, but the tension lingers. River has convinced the waiter to bring him extra dessert spoons to balance on his nose, while Phoenix continues down his list of questions, now approaching number 23. Did you really turn down $2 billion for your AI company? Phoenix asks, pencil poised. That's enough business talk, Aurora interrupts softly. Boys, why don't you go check out the dessert cart? River drops his spoons with a clatter. Can we get chocolate lava cake? An ice cream? One dessert each, Aurora says firmly. As the twins head to the dessert display, she turns to Thad. They don't need to know about the money. They're going to learn about it eventually. The company's worth even more now. That's exactly what I'm afraid of. Aurora leans forward. I don't want them thinking that success means sacrificing everything else. Like I did. Thad's voice is quiet. You said it, not me. A breeze from the open terrace doors carries the sound of waves. For a moment, they're both lost in memories. Weekend mornings making pancakes, holiday celebrations, the day they brought the twins home from the hospital. Do you remember, Thad begins, when they were 3 and River got into my office and drew all over my presentation boards? With the permanent markers. A smile tugs at Aurora's lips. You had to give that whole merger proposal with rainbow unicorns in the background. The board actually loved it. Said it showed innovation. And Phoenix calculated the exact amount of marker ink that had been used, down to the milliliter. Their laughter fades as they realize they're sharing memories like old friends. Aurora straightens, rebuilding her walls. You can't just walk back into their lives, Thaddeus. They're not a startup you can acquire when it's convenient. I know that. But seeing them today… He runs a hand through his hair. Phoenix has a list of questions he's been saving for 3 years. 3 years, Aurora. And River still hugs me like I never left. That's who they are. Phoenix processes through facts and figures. River leads with his heart. But they both… She stops as the twins return. Mom? Dad. They have 7 different kinds of chocolate cake. River's eyes are wide. And Phoenix counted all the desserts and there are exactly 43 options if you include all the ice cream flavors. 44, Phoenix corrects. You forgot the sugar-free vanilla. That doesn't count as dessert, River insists. Oh, can we eat on the terrace? Please? The moon is doing that thing where it makes a path on the water. Aurora hesitates, looking at Thad. He recognizes her expression. She's weighing options, calculating risks, just like she did the day she decided to leave. The moonlight path is called a lunar road, Phoenix informs them. Or sometimes a moon river. Like your name, River. Really? River bounces on his toes. Dad, did you and Mom name me after the moon? The question hangs in the air. Thad meets Aurora's eyes, seeing the same memory reflected there, a late-night conversation on their balcony, watching that silver path on the water, dreaming of their future family. Actually, Aurora says softly, that was your father's idea. He said anyone named after moonlight would have to be magical. River beams. Phoenix looks up from his notebook, studying his father with new interest. The terrace would be perfect for dessert, Thad suggests, his voice rough with emotion. As they move outside, River skips ahead while Phoenix walks deliberately, still clutching his list. Aurora hangs back with Thad. They deserve to know who their father is, she says quietly. The real you, not the man in those 8,000 articles. I'm not sure I know who that is anymore. Then maybe it's time to find out. They join the twins at a terrace table. Above them, stars begin to appear in the darkening sky. Below, waves continue their endless conversation with the shore. River attempts to balance a spoon on his nose again, while Phoenix calculates the exact angle needed for success. Thad's phone stays silent in his pocket. For now, this moment is enough. Moonlight sparkles on the waves as the family finishes their desserts on the terrace. River has chocolate smeared on his chin, while Phoenix meticulously separates each component of his dessert into precise sections. Last question, Phoenix announces, reaching the bottom of his list. Why didn't you fight harder to keep us? The sound of crashing waves fills the sudden silence. Aurora's spoon clatters against her plate. Phoenix, she whispers. It's okay, Thad says, though his voice shakes slightly. It's a fair question. River stops mid-bite, looking between his parents. Even he senses the weight of this moment. I made a mistake, Thad continues carefully. I thought I was fighting for you by building something bigger, something that would give you every opportunity. But I was wrong about what fighting meant. Phoenix's pencil hovers over his paper. That's not a very specific answer. No, it's not. Thad leans forward. The truth is, I was scared. Scared of failing as a father the way my own father failed. So I focused on the one thing I knew I could succeed at, business. But you're not scared of anything, River interjects. You were in Forbes magazine. Phoenix showed me the article. They called you the fearless tech titan. A bitter laugh escapes Aurora. Your father's always been good at appearances. Like River's art show piece, Phoenix says suddenly. The one with the happy family in the front, but all the shadows behind them are shaped like monsters. Aurora reaches for her son's hand. Baby, that's not. No, he's right. Thad's voice is rough. I've been the monster in the shadows, haven't I? Missing birthdays, parent conferences, piano recitals. You missed my karate tournament, River adds quietly. I got my blue belt. And my robotics competition, Phoenix continues. We won first place. I used some of your old coding techniques, the ones I found online. Each missed moment lands like a physical blow. Thad grips the edge of the table, his knuckles white. I thought, he starts then stops. Tries again. I convinced myself you were better off without me. That I'd just disappoint you if I tried to stay involved. That wasn't your choice to make, Aurora says sharply. Then, softer, they needed to know you wanted them even if you couldn't always be there. River pushes his half-eaten dessert away. I still draw you in all my family pictures. Ms. Martinez asked why, since you're not around anymore. I told her it's because you're just really busy saving the world with computers. Oh, buddy. Thad's voice cracks. I haven't been saving anything worth saving. Phoenix closes his notebook decisively. I have a proposition. 3 heads turn to him. In the moonlight, his serious expression makes him look older than his 9 years. You have 24 hours and 37 minutes left of your beach stay, he states, looking at his mother. And Dad owns this resort so he can presumably adjust his schedule. I propose a trial period of family reconciliation. Phoenix, Aurora begins, but he holds up his hand. Let me finish. I've analyzed the situation. River's art is 47% happier when he draws our family together. My computational efficiency increases by approximately 52% when I can directly ask Dad coding questions instead of searching online forums. And Mom's smile reaches her eyes 68% more often when she talks about old memories with Dad. River nods enthusiastically. Yeah, what he said. Plus, I want to show Dad my karate moves and maybe he can help us build a sandcastle that goes all the way to the water and... It's not that simple, Aurora interrupts, but her voice lacks its earlier edge. Why not? Thad asks quietly. Phoenix makes some compelling points. A server approaches to clear their plates, but retreats quickly, sensing the intensity of the moment. Because numbers don't measure heartbreak, Aurora says finally. And I won't let them learn that lesson too young. The waves crash harder now, as if emphasizing her words. In the distance, a child's laugh carries on the breeze, reminding them of simpler times. What if, Thad says slowly, we let them decide? 24 hours. No promises, no pressure. Just time together. Phoenix pulls out a fresh page from his notebook. I can draft a schedule that optimizes our remaining time, accounting for sleep requirements and meal intervals. And I can show you all my new art. River exclaims. I did this really cool painting of a shark riding a skateboard while eating ice cream. Aurora looks at her sons, one already planning, one already dreaming, and something shifts in her expression. 24 hours, she agrees finally. But Thaddeus, if you break their hearts again. I won't. He meets her gaze steadily. Some things are worth more than any deal. Phoenix uncaps his pen, ready to begin planning. River launches into a detailed description of his shark painting. Between them, their parents share a look that contains 3 years of pain, a lifetime of love, and perhaps, just perhaps, a glimmer of hope. Early morning light bathes the beach in soft gold. Thad stands at the water's edge in casual clothes that still probably cost more than most people's entire wardrobes. He checks his watch, 6:47 a.m., exactly when Phoenix's schedule said they'd meet. Right on cue, he hears River's excited voice, "Dad, we brought breakfast." The twins approach, carrying a picnic basket between them. Aurora follows with a blanket, her hair pulled back in a loose braid, looking more relaxed than she has since they met yesterday. "Phoenix insisted on picking up the exact items you used to make for us on Saturdays," Aurora explains, laying out the blanket. "He has quite a memory." "Cinnamon bagels with maple cream cheese," Phoenix confirms, unpacking the basket. "Sliced exactly 0.5 inches thick, based on optimal bread-to-spread ratio. And chocolate milk," River adds, pulling out containers. "But Mom said we can't have energy drinks like you used to." "Your mother's right about that." Thad helps spread the blanket. "I probably shouldn't have given those to you even back then. Is that why we built a pillow fort in your office at 2 a.m. and reorganized all your files by color?" Phoenix asks. Aurora nearly drops the coffee she's pouring. "They did what?" "That was supposed to be our secret, buddy." Thad winks at Phoenix, who almost smiles. "I remember that." River bounces on the blanket. "We used sticky notes to make rainbow patterns. And Dad let us sleep in his big office chair. While I had to search all over the house for them," Aurora adds, but she's fighting a smile. "I should have known they were with you. They always knew where to find me back then." Thad's voice turns wistful. "In the office." A seagull lands nearby, eyeing their breakfast. River tosses it a piece of bagel despite Phoenix's protests about disturbing the local wildlife's natural feeding patterns. "I have our schedule here," Phoenix announces, pulling out his notebook. "From 7 a.m. to 8:15, we have family breakfast and memory sharing. Then from 8:30 to 10:45, advanced sandcastle construction." "I drew blueprints." River interrupts, pulling out crumpled papers covered in colorful drawings. "See, the dragons live in this tower and the mermaids have an underwater garage for their cars." "Those aren't architecturally sound additions to my original design," Phoenix sighs. "But they're magical. They don't need architecture." Thad watches them argue, their personalities so different yet so complementary. Aurora catches his eye over her coffee cup. "They balance each other," she says softly. "Always have. Like us once upon a time." The words slip out before he can stop them. Aurora looks away, but not before he sees something flicker in her eyes. "Dad." River's voice breaks the moment. "Can you show me how to make a moat that actually holds water?" Phoenix says it's impossible because of sand porosity, but I think if we use seaweed and shells. "Actually," Thad sets down his coffee, "I learned a few engineering tricks about sand construction." "Want me to show you?" "Yes," both twins exclaim in unison. For the next hour they build and talk and laugh. River declares every new addition totally awesome, while Phoenix takes detailed notes on sand-to-water ratios. Aurora sketches them in her small notebook, capturing moments she probably never expected to see again. Thad's phone buzzes. Phoenix tenses, expecting the usual outcome. But Thad simply turns it off and puts it away. "So," he says, turning to River, "tell me more about these mermaid cars." If you're enjoying this video and want more content like this, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell. That way you won't miss out on any of the amazing stories we have coming up. Your support really helps the channel grow and keeps us bringing you more of what you love. Thank you. The sun climbs higher as their elaborate sandcastle nears completion. River dances around it, placing tiny driftwood flags on each tower, while Phoenix makes final measurements with a ruler he brought specifically for this purpose. "Dad, watch this." River steps back into a karate stance. "This is how I won my tournament." He executes a series of moves, ending with a spectacular kick that sends sand flying. Unfortunately, some lands on Phoenix's meticulously crafted drawbridge. "River, you've compromised the structural integrity." Phoenix drops his ruler in distress. "Sorry? But Dad didn't see me win, so I had to show him." River's eyes fill with tears. "You can fix it, right?" Before Phoenix can respond, Thad steps in. "Hey, how about we all fix it together? Phoenix can engineer the repairs, River can add artistic touches, and I'll do whatever you both tell me to do." "Like a real family project?" River's face brightens. Like a real family project, Thad confirms, catching Aurora's surprised look from where she sits sketching. Phoenix considers this. We'll need to recalculate the sand-to-water ratio. And River has to promise not to do any more karate within a 3-meter radius. Promise? River makes an X over his heart. Can I tell Dad about my black belt dreams while we work? As they repair the drawbridge, River chatters about his karate goals, Phoenix makes precise adjustments, and Thad hands them tools like a surgical assistant. Aurora watches them, her pencil moving swiftly across her sketchbook. Mom? River calls out. You should help too. Remember how you used to make those awesome shell patterns? I'm good here, she says, but River runs over and tugs her hand. Please? Phoenix says we need someone with an eye for aesthetically pleasing symmetry. Aurora looks at her son's hopeful face, then at Thad's careful neutrality. All right. But just for a little while. Soon all 4 of them work on the castle. Their hands occasionally brush as they pass shells and tools. Each touch carries the weight of memories, first dates, wedding days, midnight feedings, family vacations. Remember when we took that trip to the beach in Maine? River asks suddenly. When I was like 4 or something? 5, Phoenix corrects. It was exactly 5 years, 2 months, and 11 days ago. Thad and Aurora exchange a look. That trip had been their last attempt to save their marriage. You built us a huge sandcastle then too, River continues. But the waves knocked it down and I cried. But then Dad said. Sometimes things have to fall apart so we can build them better, Thad finishes quietly. Aurora's hands stop arranging shells. Those words had meant something very different a few months later when she'd packed up their life together. Is that why you and Mom stopped being married? Phoenix asks, his voice carefully neutral. To build something better? The waves seem to roar louder in the silence that follows. Sometimes, Aurora begins slowly, adults can love each other very much, but still not know how to build the right thing together. But you're building with us now, River points out. And look how awesome it is. He gestures to their castle, a perfect blend of Phoenix's precision, River's creativity, Aurora's artistry, and Thad's steady support. It is pretty awesome, Thad agrees, his voice rough. Maybe it just took us a while to learn how to build the right way. According to my calculations, Phoenix says, consulting his notebook, our collaborative efficiency has increased by 72% since this morning. And Mom's using her happy colors in her sketching, River adds. The one she only uses when something's really good. Aurora closes her sketchbook quickly, but not before Thad catches a glimpse of the page. Their family whole again, even if just for this moment. A beach attendant approaches with fresh towels. Mr. Blackwood? There's an urgent call from Singapore in your suite. 4 pairs of eyes turn to Thad. The familiar pull of business tugs at him, but then he looks at the castle they've built together, at the hope in River's eyes, at Phoenix's carefully blank expression that mirrors his own way of hiding pain. Tell them, he says clearly, that I'm in the middle of a much more important meeting. The smile that breaks across River's face is brighter than the sun overhead. Phoenix makes a small note in his book, perhaps documenting this unprecedented event. And Aurora looks at him like she's seeing him for the first time in years. Late afternoon sun turns the ocean to liquid gold. The family walks along the shore, Phoenix collecting specific shells for a science project while River splashes in the waves. Aurora and Thad follow behind, maintaining a careful distance between them. He kept every article about you, Aurora says suddenly. Phoenix, has them organized by date, publication, topic. I saw the coding tutorials you posted online, Thad responds. Using my old examples to teach him. Why didn't you tell me he was interested in programming? Why didn't you ask? Before Thad can answer, River shouts from the water's edge. Dad, look what I found. He holds up a piece of sea glass, green and frosted by the waves. Thad walks over, examining River's treasure. You know what this reminds me of? Thad asks. River shakes his head, water droplets flying from his hair. Your mother's engagement ring. It was this exact shade of green. The one you picked because emeralds symbolize growth and new beginnings, Phoenix adds, approaching with his shell collection. I read about it in the Forbes article about your wedding. Aurora twists her hands together. You boys don't need to. What happened to it? River interrupts. The ring? I still have it, Aurora says softly. In my jewelry box at home. Thad looks at her sharply. You kept it? Some things are too precious to let go of completely. She meets his eyes briefly before turning away. Even if they don't serve their original purpose anymore. Phoenix pulls out his notebook, apparently finding this exchange worthy of documentation. River holds his sea glass up to the setting sun, watching green light paint patterns on the sand. Mom, he says thoughtfully, if you kept the ring, does that mean you kept some of your love for Dad too? Aurora's breath catches. Even Phoenix stops writing. River, Thad starts, but Aurora cuts him off. Love isn't the problem, sweetheart. It never was. She looks at Thad. Sometimes love isn't enough if you don't know how to make room for it. I'm making room now, Thad says quietly. For how long? The question holds 3 years of doubt. Until the next big deal? The next urgent call? Actually, Phoenix interjects, I've been monitoring Dad's phone usage today. He's ignored approximately 17 calls, 23 emails, and 2 video conference requests. You've been counting? Thad asks, surprised. I always count things about you. Like how many times you've smiled today, 42. That's more than all the photos I found of you smiling in business magazines combined. River moves closer to his father. I've been counting too. You haven't looked at your phone once during my stories. That's like infinity better than before. The waves crash gently against the shore. A cool breeze carries the scent of salt and approaching evening. Thad looks at his sons, one holding his precious sea glass, one clutching his notebook of carefully recorded facts, and feels something crack open in his chest. When you left, he says to Aurora, I threw myself into work because numbers made sense. Deals could be controlled. Success could be measured. He takes a shaky breath. But Phoenix counts my smiles, and River notices when I really listen, and I realize I've been measuring all the wrong things. Dad, Phoenix says hesitantly, according to my schedule we have dinner reservations in 12 minutes. But I think we should adjust the timeline. Why's that, buddy? Because Mom's using her crying smile. She only does that when something important is happening. And River's doing his quiet bounce, which indicates significant emotional anticipation. And you? He consults his notebook. You're displaying multiple indicators of what my psychology books call transformative emotional breakthrough. River grabs his brother's hand. Does that mean something good is happening? It means, Aurora says, her voice gentle, that sometimes the best moments don't fit into schedules. The sun touches the horizon, painting them all in warm light. River holds up his sea glass again, casting green shadows across their faces. For a moment, they stand together in that emerald glow, surrounded by the endless rhythm of waves. Then Phoenix clicks his pen. I propose a schedule amendment. Dinner can wait. This. He gestures to their family circle, has a higher priority ranking. Stars begin to appear as the family sits on beach blankets near their now shadowy sandcastle. They've ordered pizza to the beach, something Thad would have considered beneath him just a day ago. River arranges his pepperoni into smiley faces while Phoenix documents their unprecedented deviation from his schedule. According to my data, Phoenix announces, this is the longest continuous time we've spent together as a family since the separation. Total duration, 14 hours, 27 minutes. And nobody's checked their phone or had to leave for a meeting or anything. River adds, pepperoni smile forgotten. It's like when we used to have family Sundays, remember? Aurora and Thad exchange glances. Those Sundays had grown increasingly rare in their final year together, replaced by video calls and rushed explanations. I need to show you something, Thad says suddenly. He reaches into his pocket and pulls out his phone. Instead of checking messages, he opens his photos and hands it to Aurora. She looks at the screen, then back at him. What am I seeing? My calendar for the next 6 months. Notice anything? Phoenix peers over his mother's shoulder, analyzing. You've blocked out every Sunday. And our birthdays are marked in red. Along with, he squints, River's karate tournaments and my robotics competitions. I had my assistant track down your schedules, Thad admits. Every event, every performance, every competition. They're all in there. River bounces forward. Really? You're gonna come to my stuff? If. Thad looks at Aurora. If your mother agrees, I'd like to try. Really try this time. Aurora hands the phone back carefully like it might burn her. You've made promises before, Thaddeus. I know. But this time I have something I didn't have before. What's that? Phoenix asks, pen poised. Perspective. Thad gestures to their day's creation. Look at that sandcastle. Tomorrow the tide will take it. Nothing we build lasts forever. Companies, fortunes, sandcastles. But this. He looks at his family. This is what matters. You boys are what matter. River scoots closer to his father, pizza forgotten. Does this mean you're coming home? The question hangs in the air like the salt spray. Aurora tenses. No, buddy, Thad says gently. Sometimes even when people love each other, they work better living apart. But it doesn't mean we can't be a family. Like how Phoenix and I are different but still best brothers? River asks. Exactly like that, Aurora says softly. Phoenix flips to a new page in his notebook. I propose a new arrangement. Based on today's successful trial period, we could implement a structured visitation schedule that optimizes both quality time and practical logistics. In normal words, Phoenix, River sighs. We could see Dad more. But with rules and plans so nobody gets hurt. Thad looks at Aurora. In the starlight, she looks like she did when they first met, young, hopeful, but now with hard-earned wisdom in her eyes. We'd need to set clear boundaries, she says. The boys come first. Always. Always, Thad agrees. I'll step down as CEO if I have to. Harrison can run the company. He's been practically doing it anyway while I've been chasing the next big thing. Aurora's eyes widen. You do that. I would have done it 3 years ago if I'd understood what I was really losing. He swallows hard. I was an idiot. The biggest, she agrees, but there's a hint of a smile in her voice. River yawns suddenly, curling up against his father's side like he used to do as a toddler. Phoenix's pen slows as exhaustion catches up with him too. We should get them to bed, Aurora says, motherly instinct taking over. 5 more minutes, River mumbles. According to my calculations, Phoenix fights another yawn. We still have 3 hours and 14 minutes of our trial period left. Thad looks at his drowsy sons, at the woman who once shared his dreams, at the castle they built together that will be gone tomorrow but somehow feels more permanent than any building with his name on it. How about this, he says. Tomorrow morning before you leave we'll build another castle. And next weekend I'll drive up to Portland. River has a karate demonstration on Saturday, right? And Phoenix, your robotics club meets Sunday? Both boys nod sleepily. It's a 3-hour drive, Aurora warns. I know. I mapped it already. He meets her eyes. I'm done missing the important things. If you're enjoying this video and want more content like this, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell. That way you won't miss out on any of the amazing stories we have coming up. Your support really helps the channel grow and keeps us bringing you more of what you love. Thank you. Morning sunlight streams across Elite Beach one last time. The family stands together at the water's edge, watching their new sandcastle take shape. It's smaller than yesterday's but somehow more perfect. River's artistic towers blend seamlessly with Phoenix's precise walls, supported by Thad's sturdy foundation and decorated with Aurora's thoughtful shell patterns. There, River announces, placing the final shell. Now it's ready for the tide. But the tide will destroy it, Phoenix protests. All our work will be gone. Thad kneels beside his sons. You know what I learned running my company? Sometimes the most valuable things aren't the ones that last forever. They're the moments that change us. Like today? River asks. Like today? Thad looks up at Aurora, who's capturing the scene in her sketchbook. And yesterday. And hopefully many more days to come. Phoenix consults his notebook. Based on the proposed visitation schedule and accounting for drive time from San Francisco to Portland, we could accumulate approximately 1,248 hours of family time over the next year. That's a lot of sandcastles, River grins. And I'll be there for every one of them, Thad promises. No matter what calls or meetings come up. Aurora closes her sketchbook. The boys need to pack for the drive home. I know. Thad stands, brushing sand from his knees. Phoenix, you'll email me that schedule? Already sent. With color coding and statistical analysis of optimal visiting periods. And Dad. River hugs him fiercely. I'm gonna practice my karate super hard for when you come next week. I can't wait, buddy. Thad holds his son tight, breathing in the scent of sunshine and sea salt. Phoenix approaches more cautiously, but when Thad opens his other arm, he joins the embrace. I calculated the probability of this weekend changing our family dynamics, he whispers. It was less than 12%. I'm glad the numbers were wrong. Aurora watches them, her eyes soft. When the boys step back, she moves forward. Thank you, she says quietly, for finally showing them the father I always knew you could be. Thank you for giving me the chance. He takes a deep breath. I know we can't go back. No, she agrees. But maybe we can go forward. Better this time. The waves begin to creep toward their castle. River grabs his phone to take pictures, while Phoenix makes final measurements for future reference. You know what Mom always says? River pipes up. She says sometimes love is like the tide, it changes shape but it never really goes away. Aurora blushes. I didn't think you remembered that. I remember everything about love, River declares. Like how Dad used to say love is the most valuable investment. And now? Thad asks softly. Now I know love is like our sandcastle. River gestures to their creation as gentle waves begin to touch its walls. Even when it looks different or gets washed away, we can always build it again. Better and stronger. Phoenix nods seriously. While the structural integrity may be temporary, the architectural knowledge and emotional resonance remain permanent. The family stands together, watching their castle slowly merge with the sea. But this time there are no tears, no sadness. They understand now that some things must change shape to become stronger. Time to go, Aurora says finally. As they walk back to the resort, River skipping ahead and Phoenix making final notes, Thad and Aurora share one last look. In it is every memory, every mistake, every hope for the future. Their love has changed shape, like the tide-swept sand, but its foundation remains, stronger now for having been rebuilt. The waves continue their eternal dance with the shore, erasing their castle but not their memories, not their growth, not their love. Because sometimes the most beautiful things in life aren't meant to last forever. They're meant to change us, to teach us, to show us what really matters. And what matters isn't the castles we build, but the people we build them with. If you enjoyed this story and would like to support more content like this, consider showing your appreciation through Super Thanks. Your support helps us continue creating meaningful stories that touch hearts and bring families together. Thank you for being part of our journey. Remember, success isn't measured by the empires we build, but by the love we share and the moments we choose to be present for. Sometimes the most precious things in life aren't found in boardrooms or bank accounts. They're found in the simple joy of building sandcastles with the ones we love.